Everybody. It is great to be here one more time today. And my name is Gary Fowler, and I'm the CEO, president, and founder of GSD Get You Done Venture Studios, premier AI and quantum venture studio located in the heart of Silicon Valley. I'm a 17-time serial entrepreneur with a number of unicorns under the belt. I was on the original management team of Click Software, which was sold to Salesforce for $1.35 billion, and also Eva.ai, an AI HR tech company. We love artificial intelligence because, as you know, we are in a state of infobesity. And with that, I have an incredible guest today. I'd like to introduce Andra. Andra is an executive leader, an entrepreneur, an advisor, a consultant, a board member. She's from Toronto, although right now she's in beautiful Barbados. It's a tough life, yes, but somebody's got to do it. So with that, she's a leadership executive who specializes in authentically building, creating, and driving value for an organization with the ability to take them from seed to sale. A highly adept and versatile forward thinker who takes a holistic and strategic approach, structuring and developing scalable frameworks in emerging industries. And with that, I'd like to bring Andra on board. Hi, Andra. How are you doing today?
Hi, Gary. I'm good. How are you?
Good, good. So you getting some sun?
Yeah, a little bit of sun. I mean, working remotely, we work very hard remotely, but not a bad place to be, Barbados.
No, that's great. So I got a question for you. So when and I've been to Romania several times. So what city were you from in Romania?
Well, I grew up in Brasov, but I was born in Transylvania.
Ah, okay. So I've been to Transylvania. I've been to Braun actually. So I actually
Okay.
spoke at Braun at an AI conference in Braun, which was
Very
quite
cool.
interesting. I'd never seen such a beautiful, picturesque. Like I never forget. I saw a cow walking down the road. I saw a dog behind the cow, a cat behind the dog, and they were going in. I couldn't figure it out. And they said, "Well, they know it's time to come home, and the cat knows it's going to get milked because the cow gets milked, right? The cow knows it's going to be fed, and the dog comes along because it's fed. And I saw him walking down the road. It was the most it like a movie actually.
Is this right in front of the dark Dracula castle?
Well, the fake Dracula castle, the one that people think is a real one, but not as from Vlad the Impaler, right? But it
Yeah.
was so amazing, and when I saw it, it was it was like one of those Thomas Kincaid paintings where you talk about light and all that. It was like, this is unbelievable. This is real. And by the way, the freshest food that I've ever eaten in my life.
Yes, yes. We have incredible dishes there and we eat all the time. If there's a party, we bring it out at midnight.
Yeah, no, the people were really nice. And the storks, I saw the storks nests all over the place.
Oh,
And
didn't
yeah, there's beautiful like storks there. So,
Yeah. Well, I
uh,
mean, I left Romania when I was about 6 years old during Ceausescu's time. So it was a little bit of a different environment in Brasov at that time under communist rule. But nonetheless, I've been back a number of times. And it's a beautiful, beautiful landscape, great people, hardworking, and just joyful,
yeah, no,
Feels like a good time.
really joyful and fun. So I got a question for you. So, you've done a lot. You immigrated to Canada. You went to school at the London School of Economics and Political Science. So how was it, coming over? So you come from Romania over. Did it take long to assimilate? It's 6 years old. It doesn't take long at all, right? You instantly become part of the society.
Yeah, 6 years old, you're just a little sponge. So I only knew Romania when I came to Canada. So my parents, courageously put me in French immersion. So I learned English and French at the same time. I adapted very quickly. My brother was put in the same. He was like, no, thank you to French. I'll stick to English. And then, yeah, I just, I immersed in the culture quickly. I mean, you're so young. I lived in Toronto initially. We unfortunately all had to start over like I said, when we left Romania, everyone was trying to sort of flee the country. So coming to Canada, my parents needed different practices because my dad was a pilot in Romania and, he had to redo it in Canada. We didn't have the funds. And so we kind of grew up in government housing and went to public schools, and it was very cool. And my parents did the best they could and learned French, did my thing and moved on. So, and then sort of just kept the education flowing.
So when you went down through it, so you came over, you immigrated over. How was it? So did you grow up speaking Romanian?
I did. My parents were very tricky. It was actually my stepfather and my mom that raised me in Canada, and my parents had divorced when I was younger in Romania, and they refused to speak to me in English. So they would pretend like they couldn't hear me when I would speak English, just so that I would maintain my French or my Romanian. Sorry. So, it was an interesting tactic that was super frustrating at the time. I'd want to go to the movies. I'd want to do something. And they'd be like, well, we don't understand. Speak in Romanian. But I didn't have much family in Canada. So it would have been very hard to keep that maternal tongue going. So yeah, I speak, read, and write fluently because they were just, practicing their Romanian tactics with me. And somehow it works. So I'm grateful now.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So when you do that, when did you immigrate to Canada?
When I was 6.
How long? When
I'm 30, I'm turning 38 now. So that was about, in 89.
Wow, because I remember I was over in Russia in 91 when the wall came down, and October 1991. I remember that. I remember going over to Germany right after the wall fell down.
Wow.
And so I was right there. I saw went through the Brandenburg Gate, saw the wall, went over to Bad Saro, and you could see I remember going through that part of Germany and seeing the old V2 rocket stands from World War II. Right, it was crazy. This stuff. It was amazing.
So much history. Oh my gosh. And even Ceausescu from his time. I mean, there's still roads built in Bucharest from him. It was an interesting time, but
So you come over, you do this, you go to London School of Economics, then you went to York University. Why? How did you? So you did the London School for 1 year. Was a program while you were at York?
Yeah, it was a little less than a year, actually. I studied double honors in English and French. My mom was a teacher, so I always wanted to be a teacher. So I did that at York University in Toronto. And then I got a scholarship to London School of Economics to to study international law. It was an interesting program they offered. You didn't have to be a lawyer. You didn't have to be an articling student. You could be of any age from anywhere around the world. And I was lucky enough to get a scholarship, so I went and did it. And that sort of prompted my interest in law. Finished up at York and ended up going to Australia at Bond Faculty of Law to do law school because I'm all about a good experience. Bond is an exceptional school that has great affiliations with Canada, but more importantly, I'm like, if I'm going to suffer through law school, it's going to be in a great environment.
Well, how was it? So what city is Bond in?
Bond's in Queensland, so it's in the Gold Coast. It's beautiful. It would be the equivalent of Miami, maybe I would say. There's a place called Surfers Paradise nearby, and there's a place called Byron Bay that was extremely magical, about 45 minutes out, sort of a sanctuary. Chris Hemsworth lives there, so yeah.
Did you see Chris Hemsworth when you were there?
Now he does. At the time he didn't, but now he does.
Did you? So that area's got a lot of crocodiles, right? I mean, it's got a lot of wildlife in that part. Right?
Everyone says that, but they're like, be careful. There's the tiniest thing floating in the ocean and it'll get you and paralyze you. It wasn't that bad. It was the cockroaches and the lizards that got me.
Really?
Kangaroos are not like, running around. Koalas aren't grabbing at you. It's fine. They're all in the zoo. No, it was beautiful, but it is one of those places where the community centers around the school. So there were tons of Bond events, and Bond is a beautiful, beautiful, stunning school. So now more than ever, more Canadians are going there. I encourage future lawyers to attend.
When you were at the school, so what culturally was different from Canada to Australia when you came over there? Besides, they speak a little bit differently, but what did you like? Yeah. What was it like?
Well, what I envied is that their school was being paid for and I was being extorted as an international student. So that I was not impressed with. But I did love the fact that I think they could go directly into law school right after high school, which we couldn't do in Canada at the time. I'm not sure what it is now. So I had to do my BA and all that stuff. So they were very young, very aware, very on it. Brilliant students. But I love the way they did their courses and their classes at Bond. I'm a performer. Give me multiple choice and oh my God, I will make any answer work just because that's how my brain works, right? It's not architectural, it's not mathematical. So I chose my exams, most of them like 80% performative, perfect right here. So they had that option. I loved it because you could sort of
so you could take the tests the way you'd like to take them.
Well, it would say, like, for criminal law, run your own trial and you are this. So I would take that versus others, they want the exam textbook. They don't want to perform. They're like, no, thank you. Keep me in the shadows. I want to do the work. So they allowed you the opportunity to create scenarios where you're interviewing people or running a trial or in negotiations. And I love that because that's life, and that's essentially what I excel at now.
Well, that's great. So you did that. So you spent a few years over there, and you came back over. So you were there from 2009 to 2011, right? So you came back over. You got a job with TX Venture Exchange. What was that all about? So you were an interviewer for them.
Yeah, well, it was so I accelerated through law school because Bond also offers a 2-year program instead of a 3-year, meaning you have no summer breaks. You're just like, just do it, hammer it out, write your exams, take a break for them to review and come back at it. So I love that. I did that. When I came back, obviously I did my articling. I actually practiced at a litigation firm for a little bit while I was doing that because I had sort of been self-sufficient since 17 years old. I've been juggling a number of jobs. I worked everywhere and did anything so I could put myself through school and, buy a place and do all that jazz. So part of it was modeling. So I got a gig with the Toronto Stock Exchange to be able to do a TV show that was about capital markets. So I would have guests from the mining industry, the biotech science industry, whatever it was. And I would be sort of that host that, hey, if you're a first-time investor, nominal portfolio investor, let me bridge the gap and let me speak to you in plain terms on why this company's good. And we'd have, so say it's mining, you'd have 3 companies at certain stages in their exploration or operations or whatever. And then the big guru company that comes down, the analyst, and says, hey, they're good here for this might be a problem here. And it just helps people bridge that gap when they invest. Sometimes it's a little convoluted and complicated for people. So that was a cool show. But by virtue of being in that show, I met, my network increased. And so when those CEOs would come back to town, they'd invite me to the dinners. I'd show up, later realizing they're closing dinners. So at those dinners sat all the brokers, top investment bankers. And when I became a securities lawyer, it was that much easier to do those deals.
That's great. So you went to Cassels Brock and Blackwell, correct?
Yes. Yeah. Securities division.
So you went to the securities division. And then what is this Origin House? What is that? Is that formerly Canna Royalty? What is that?
Yeah. So Origin House. So back when cannabis was popping up and before the regulatory framework changed in Canada, my group, my division at Cassels Brock, we were taking on a lot of cannabis files. And Canna Royalty was a group that we took public by way of RTO. So we took them public. And after that, the executives had asked if myself and a colleague of mine from the firm would join them in-house. I became their legal counsel and international business developer, and my colleague became their GC. So essentially what it was a company that was ahead of its time, and it aggregated a ton of different assets for its portfolio and all cannabis focused, whether that was IP, technology, grow LPs, whatever it was, right? But by doing that, I got to sort of travel the whole world looking for these assets, diligencing them. I'd maybe smoked a joint by that point. I don't know. I knew nothing. I didn't realize how much I needed to know about the cannabis space until I took that role on. I was like, whoa.
Yeah, wow. Was it exciting?
It was an incredible experience. I remember I went back to Romania to visit my family, and my CEO was like, "We need to launch this press release." And I think I was hiking. I'm like looking for reception, like you're young, you're a junior lawyer. It was thrilling. The firm was exceptional, but I always knew I had a bit of a entrepreneurial spirit, and I needed to be outside of a firm to work my magic.
So how was that? So when you're going down through that, and you're going down through the companies, you've got the one spirit, this kind of wild spirit and doing the kind of things. But, so a lot of corporations like you to fit the mold, right? And so how is it? How do you juggle that between, enjoying your life and being part of this political corporate citizen that they want?
I think I'm lucky because very early on in my life, especially after my mom had passed, actually, when I was 15, I started thinking, hey, it's time to really maximize your opportunity in this world and do as much as you can. And I am a multitasker. So for ever onwards, I was juggling between jobs and schools. So really it was just supplementing one for the other. And I'm able to be very flexible and adaptable to my environments. I get along with a lot of people. Being social is my innate talent. Connecting, the art of connecting, that's what I do best. And I really, truly enjoy it. I think every experience is sort of a privilege to be a part of. And I take from it what I can and I make the most of it. And I like connecting people with others. And that's sort of the way I go about life. It's not always purposeful in a sense of, oh, this is a career move. I go where my heart is and where I'm interested. And I think maybe my morals and values guide me to an extent as well. They determine my boundaries, what I'll be a part of and what I won't be anymore.
Mm-hmm. No, that's great. And you said at 15 your mom passed. And I know when my mom, you start to understand what the value of life is in time.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
How important it is. You only have so much time to do things, and that some people sit on their hands. But the key is to be able to move as fast as you can and enjoy it.
Yeah. And I think, one of the other things I would add is that, and I'm sure you have a depth of experience, but for me, my hardest times when I'm just like crying on the floor being like, this is the end of Andra, that's where you find your strengths, and that's the joy of life. If the great scenarios is a pat on the back, that's fantastic. I love to have it, but it's the bad ones that I remember. And it's the bad ones I'm grateful for because it's the ones that built me as a person and my character. And it's really the ones that humbled me the most. So whenever I mentor people or speak to anyone younger than me, I try to say, hey, you know what? It's never as bad as you think. Don't look here, look past there, and it'll all be okay.
Yeah, well, it sounds like you got through it. I mean, you've been through a lot of stuff, that's for sure. Yeah, and you're right about it. Sometimes, you can. I remember I had dinner with Andra Enescu, he's the right-hand man of Rupert Murdoch, and I'll never forget the conversation. Carl Page, Larry Page, the founder of Google's brother, was across from us. An actor friend of mine from Hollywood was there. And I asked him, he said, I've studied 3,000 of the top entrepreneurs in the world. Because we got on this thing about Rupert Murdoch, right? Because Rupert was married to this Chinese woman and then Jerry Hall and all this stuff. And I said, like, here's a guy who's really successful. Doesn't like that get him down, getting divorced and all that. He said, I've studied 3,000 of the top entrepreneurs. And there's one common trait that I found. And I said, what is that? He said, amnesia. He said, they never focus on the past.
Yeah. It's a great, there's a lot of truth to that. You can get stuck. You can paralyze yourself, I would say, if you say to focus on the past,
Yeah, you paralyze yourself. And he said, you got to move forward. And every one of my ultra wealthy friends that I know have never actually talked about the past, like only in context. They're looking for today and they're looking for tomorrow. But of course, tomorrow never comes, right? So you went to what was Blackshire Capital all about?
Blackshire Capital was a private equity firm that I worked with. They were actually one of our investors in Canna Royalty, the cannabis company. And by the way, Canna Royalty ended up changing its name to Origin House, becoming a cannabis brands company, and I believe got acquired for $1 billion by Cresco Labs. So that went on and on and on past my time. But Blackshire was a shareholder, worked with them for a while. Also, they were doing a lot of investments in the cannabis space. And I think after Blackshire, that might have been when I formed Champagne Capital. It's just really a corporation where I would then assume consulting gigs. So take on executive in-house roles with companies to help structure them and grow them. Because of the array of things I've been involved with, whether it was working bottle service at a nightclub, whether it was, I started a tutoring business when I was.
You were working bottle service at a nightclub?
I did. I am not ashamed to say it. Yeah. I was like the nicest bottle service girl there. Daytime.
Was your job to go out and sell the bottles? Is that what it? Yeah, sell drinks, shots.
You manage tables, I would say. Yeah. What's funny is though, because my daytime job was in law, I'd be in mediations or something. And then, especially because I was at the litigation firm, I'd see some of them at the nightclub and do we know you? I'm like, nope. No, you don't. Yeah. I mean, Gary, you gotta hustle. The hustle is real.
Were you selling shots then? Is that what it was?
No, you manage tables. You're like a waitress at a nightclub, right? So they order bottles, whatever it is. Come on, you've never heard of bottle service girl?
Never. Actually, never. I have never.
Well, you're never going to a nightclub.
I go to nightclubs, but the clubs that I go to, I've never heard the term. I've been into clubs where they We
It's
bought
like a waitress
spark
designated for the
on it
food.
and all that stuff. You
Yeah.
know, but that's interesting. Well, that's a good job. That's a good job. It's very lucrative,
It's
actually.
very lucrative, but one of the things I did early on was start a tutoring business because I love mentoring. I love working with kids. I'm currently chair of Recess Guardians, a charity that helps foster sort of like integrity in kids, discipline, inclusivity, and all that stuff. So tutoring was my jam. And cash, and I kept it going in Australia, and I would tutor ESL, English as a second language, and yeah, tutoring was my bread and butter for a while. Nightclubs are easy because it's
You're a
fun.
hustler, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's for sure. I've done a lot of things.
How does
TV
that,
show.
Andra, how does that affect your life now? Have you changed? Because the hustling part, how does that? You're 38 years old, right?
I will be in May. Yes.
May. You said 38. So if you look at it, but how is it? How does that impact your life? Because you've worked really hard doing a lot of things. How
Yeah.
is it now? Like I'm just curious. Do you like reflect on where you are now and where you're going to go? Do you always hustle, or how does it impact life?
I mean, I think at the time it was just constant hustle. Law school was very expensive. I think it was nearly 200K, right? So you're just going until you pay that off, and you come back poorer than when you left. But over time, I think the hustle it's a discipline. But I was always involved in sports. I trained at a Japanese dojo for judo since I was 5 years old or 6 years old. So I was always a highly disciplined individual and very independent. So I think the hustle has transitioned. It's no longer to survive, but it's real. Every time I'm out, I'm looking at different connections. I mean, I could be CEO of Faster today, which I am, but while I'm having a conversation, I'm thinking of something good for my charity. And my mind's sort of everywhere, and the hustle has just changed. But I'm alert. I'm always looking for opportunities and interesting
How long did you
experiences.
study judo?
Oh my gosh, till right when I came to Canada until I was about 14 and a half. And I was being trained for Junior Olympics. I think at age 10, I beat out everyone in Canada or North America from a girl division for my weight class. So,
And what made you? Because I was also in it in judo and
oh, were
did
you?
the Nagi's and all this stuff. But what happened? So as you went down through that process, so you were top. If you were top in North America, did you go to Junior Olympics, or did you want to go to Olympics, or no?
Yeah, no, unfortunately, well, first of all, it was not by choice. My stepdad put me into it. He was big in karate at the time, and he did a lot of karate in Romania. So he was like, my kids are going into martial arts, perfect, Japanese dojo, the right choice. But actually, my mom had passed at 15, so I had to pick up my stuff and move with my father. I'd been living in Vancouver at the time, so I had to move to Toronto where he lived and sort of start a new life that didn't involve sort of anything of my past life. So that was a bit of a shift. And that's when I sort of rebuilt my future and went down a different path.
Oh, that's interesting. Wow, I appreciate you sharing that. So tell us about Faster. So good news today. You've got a big announcement that you're now the CEO of Faster. So tell us about Faster.
Yeah, thank you. I feel very privileged to be a part of this company. Keith McKenzie is the founder of it, and I was asked to be a part of it. It's in the payment processing space. It's an exciting world for me, partly because I'm learning it. I'm familiar enough, but it's just an active fintech spot that I've always wanted to be a part of. We provide just quicker, easier solutions for small to medium businesses. That's all it is. So competitors would be like Banaras, Chase, all those groups. After COVID, I've noticed even in Toronto, there's so many small businesses. If they survive, they're barely by a whim, and it's challenging for them to drive revenue, scale, operate even just to stay open. So Faster provides terminals as well as partnering with MasterCard. We provide Interact and credit card services to these merchants. Essentially, we're competitive from a cost perspective for the machine, but also we don't do credit checks, anything like that. We have an internal adjudication system, so it's easier for merchants to get accepted, approved, and start their business. We provide a cloud-based account, and yeah, it's just overall a sweep of tools that they can use to make their business lighter and easier. And we also settle. We do daily settlements, so even on weekends and holidays. I remember the pain of being like, "Oh no, it's a holiday! I need to get paid before." I don't want to wait the 5 days or whatever it is for the long weekend. So we settle it doesn't, despite holidays or weekends or anything like that. So yeah.
And how long were you working with Faster before you became the CEO?
You know what? The announcement came out today, but it's actually been the last 2 months that I met the founder. We were introduced by a mutual contact in my network, an investor and colleague of mine, and I got good reviews, and we started. I liked what he was doing, and we are in the process of taking it public. So my background comes in handy. We're going to be doing an RTO, and we're looking to list on the Canadian Securities Exchange within the next month. So things are busy on my end.
That's great. Well, congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's really great. So, we're coming up to the top of the show,
Yeah.
but what's summary and what's the best way for people to get a hold of you, Andra?
Oh, well, okay. We are under development on our website. In a couple of weeks, Faster will be up and running properly. But I would say just LinkedIn. I think my link is here somewhere. I provided it to your chief of staff. Email me, call me. Super easy.
It's just so Andra Enescu. So you see her name, Enescu. Reach out. And what are you looking for? What are you looking for right now?
What am I looking for? You know what? Connecting with good humans. Really.
Good humans. Underneath some good human connections. So
investors in my new business.
So we have a wide audience from all over the world. So be careful what you ask for.
You know what? I'm always looking for good people, because I'm always looking for partnerships. I'm always looking to support others and myself and the ventures I'm a part of. So again, just good people to learn from and continue on this journey with, I guess.
No, that's great. Great. All right. Well, Andra, thanks for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us today. And I want to thank to all my audience for joining one more time. GSD Presents Silicon Valley AI and Tech. And my name is Gary Fowler, and I'm your host. Stay happy, stay safe, and stay healthy. I will be back again next Tuesday with another exciting edition. Thank you, Andra. And also, I have my book coming out next week, Artificial Imagination. So check Amazon. It's talking about generative AI and the impact on our lives. Take care of yourself. See you later, everybody. Thanks, Andra. It's great to see you. Thanks,
nice to see you again.